Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This Shabbos is a very special Shabbos. Shabbos Parshat Chayei. It's called the life of Sarah, but it's actually the parsha which Sarah dies. And the reason why it's called the life of Sarah is because Sarah's life continues with her son Isaac. What's very unique about this parsha, in Israel it's called Shabbat Chevron. It's a Shabbat where everyone congregates. My son is there for this Shabbos. And thousands, tens of thousands are in Chevron this Shabbat because this is the Shabbat that Abraham purchases Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah in the holy city of Chevron. You know, what happens is that Ephron offers him for free. I'll give it to you. You bury your wife over here. Abraham said no. Abraham said, I want to pay. Not only did he pay, he paid top dollar. Like this, no one could ever challenge the ownership of the land of Chevron and the land of Israel from the Jewish people. Nevertheless, Abraham knew, just like the first Rashi in the Torah, that when God created the world, why we have to start with creation? Because to show that God can give give the gift of Israel to the Jewish people, because Rashi says one day it will be challenged. Abraham knew that one day it will be challenged, and therefore the Jewish people not only get gifted the land from God, conquer the land, acquire the land, and purchase the land, and still till today, unfortunately, the very question of the world is the Jews' right to exist and the Jews' right to the land of Israel, and specifically in the city of Hebron, which is one of the most conflicted cities. And we see this terrible situation this week with the warrants being sent out in the indictment of Bibi Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant in the ICC, two democratic leaders who have fought the most just war. And it goes after one Hamas member who was killed instead of going after Ahmadinejad and Assad and every one of the tyrants in the area and Sinwar. But they go after a sitting prime minister in the land of Israel who's there defending the Jewish people while there's still 101 hostages in Gaza. We live in such an upside-down world. We live in a crazy world. And sometimes even the most basic things, like purchasing land, are being questioned. In the Torah, Hashem gave us this parsha. We read it this week, and it's important to understand it, to understand our history of a Jewish people, because we need to stand proud. We need to stand strong. Baruch Hashem, the United States is standing strong with Israel. But the rest of the world is, they're in a conflict, and they're not sure what to do. It's a big problem we have. As Jewish people, we need to be strong of who we are. And when we're strong, the rest of the world will be strong around us. And therefore, it's important to come and to study Torah and to realize that Torah gives us all the answers. God tells us why, in many times, the gift of the Jewish people, the conquering of the Jewish people, the purchasing of land of the Jewish people, our historical homeland of Judea and Samaria, when people call it the West Bank, and see in this week's parsha, and that's why it's so important this Shabbos has become somewhat a national phenomenon in Israel called Shabbat Chevron. It's a Shabbos in which everyone goes there. Today there's only about 1,000 Jews living in Hebron, and it's still very much contested. It's the only city in which Palestinians and Jews live together in the areas that were given away in the Oslo Accords. And so it's important for us as Jews to understand our Jewish history, to understand our Jewish identity, to be proud as Jewish people. Like this, when these terrible anti-Semitic things happen in this world, because unfortunately it creates this ICC situation, how absurd it is, it creates a situation in which people will say, what do you mean? There's genocide happening in Gaza, and there's starvation happening in Gaza, even though Israel has sent more than 700,000 tons, 3,200 calories per Gazan since the war has started. And even though Hamas is the one that's stealing most of the aid and charging for the aid and putting civilians, Israel's the only one that warns civilians before they attack. They make sure that they don't attack if there's any civilians in the area, as we see even in Lebanon happening right now. Nevertheless, the world doesn't care because we live in an anti-Semitic world. And so it's important for Jewish people to understand our Jewish history and to understand what's going on in our lives. And if we do that, then we'll have the answers to the people around us, and we'll voice our opinions, and we'll know that this Shabbat is Shabbat Hebron. Hebron is the city of our homeland. Hebron is a city of the Jewish people. It's been for thousands of years. It's the burial place of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, and some say Adam and Eve as well. It's the original place in which it says that the prayers of the Jewish people go into the land of Israel. They go through the city of Hebron. And so as we go into the Shabbos of Hebron, Shabbat Chayei, we remember this. Our Jewish homeland, our Jewish identity is being challenged in a way which we have never seen in our history, a way in which people are questioning the validity of Am Yisrael. And we need to make sure we stand up and be proud. And if we do that, nobody can touch us. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll see you tonight, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning at 10:15.